Hello everyone and welcome. Hope you guys are all doing well, and today my friends, we're back with the showdown between the Empire and this Skaven. My apologies if the sound quality is a little bit poor. I'm actually casting from a hotel room and it doesn't have the best acoustics, but we're going to be doing our best. We're in the middle of this giant crazy move back and all sorts of nonsense going on, but I'll make sure to kind of fill you guys in on the next stream. Now, as far as this glorious battle goes, it is going to be the Sons of Sigmar, like I said, facing off against the Rat People. It looks like a Grey Seer with the Lore of Plague, and it is going to be Volkmar the Grim, obviously the Volkswagen, super good against Skaven. Now, he's a little bit vulnerable. I wouldn't even say vulnerable per se, but he can be taken out by Throt and some of those bigger monsters in sustained combat, but the amount of disruption he can cause, and even if they have Throt and like a Packmaster chasing Volkmar, for example, that's still a lot of resources being poured in to take him down. Meanwhile, Volkmar's still buffing, he's still dropping vortexes. He's just really tough to kill. On top of that, weapons teams, you have Jezzails, Warp Lightning Cannons, all that sort of good stuff. He is able to heal through a lot of that, and his armor does help him against Slingers. And yeah, Volkmar, I think, is probably one of the best lords in the game overall. Now, this is one of my builds against Skaven. Basically, you have the unbreakable front line, so you have Flagellants, Sigmar Sons, more Flagellants here, and in the back line, we are going to be going with Archers. Basic Archers, Crossbowmen, they both work pretty well here. In my experience, I've been kind of going with Archers a little bit more. Yeah, they do have a little bit less range, which actually can be an issue sometimes. But in this case, you get them. It allows you to get even more missiles to minimize the effectiveness of mortars and globadiers and all that sort of stuff. So we have two Free Company Militia on either side, one here, and I do like them quite a bit. In melee combat, they can easily defeat Skaven slaves and contest clan rats, and against bigger threats like Hellpit Abominations and all those big scary boys, they can, they got a little bit of a pistol punch there. So here on the far side, Amber Wizard with the Lore of Manticore Summoning, and Volkmar the Grim, a couple Empire Knights. You can go Knights of the Blazing Sun here in this matchup. They certainly do pretty well, and we do have one, I think, in the forest, and maybe one on the far side. I can't quite remember, but Knights of the Blazing Sun definitely pack a punch. 41 melee attack, 42 weapon strength, and 78 charge bonus. If these guys can get a square charge on top of like Rat Ogres or any of those other targets, they can really run them down. And yeah, the magic resist does help. You got Libra Bubonicus, you have Rod of Corruption, you have Globadiers. There's a fair amount of magic damage on the Skaven roster, so having that 25%, isn't insignificant. So we do have them, and I believe they've discovered some wolf rats hiding in the trees here. That's pretty much it from Army. Yeah, it's, I think, an Empire Knight and then two Knights of the Blazing Sun. Yeah, one on the other side. So now for my opponent here, Skaven Force, it's going to be what appears to be Skaven Slaves with the Council Guard. We do also have the Grey Seer Plague, the Assassin, and Poison Wind Globes. And are there mortars? Let's go ahead and see here. Take a big macro look. I think it's just double Globadier, and it's going to be double Jezzail as well. Jezzail's pretty good against heavy cavalry. This hill actually kind of helps a little bit, kind of draws some line of sight issues for these Jezzails to start shooting right down into the hill, but nonetheless, I do also then have to charge up a hill, so it's a bit of a two-sided coin there. In the back, there's also some Warp Grinders, and of course, anytime you're facing off against the Empire, there's typically, not in every matchup, but oftentimes there is going to be at least some Empire Knights or Bare Bones Cavalry, so having Rat Ogres mixed with cheap Spears is the way to stop that. So the Jezzail fire quite nasty here, but these are Empire Knights. They were, they're ready to take this like champs, and they're moving in. Their armor not going to help them too much against Jezzails, who do have a very, very good AP values, but, I got a tough task here. I got to push up this hill. But I think there might be some line of sight issues, like I said, although it looks like they're drawing some pretty good firepower here so far. So the Empire Knights do charge here into the Skaven Slaves, just trying to, get some routes where I can, and Volkmar the Grim is just kind of his dreaded horses, Death Hoof. He's borrowed Karl Franz's special horse here. Appears to be doing some good work against the Assassin. Volkmar is very exceptional at killing foot characters, so the fact that we are able to get this Assassin in the trash can that quickly feels really, really good. Now up on the hill here, Empire Knights are going into the front as well, so it looks like I had 2 and 2 for the Empire Knights, but it looks like the dreaded 13 spell was popped on top of the Flagellants, doing some pretty big damage. And over here, it looks like a lot of Globadier fire coming into the globes are hitting the Knights of the Blazing Sun, as well as the Free Company Militia. Very, very painful stuff, amazing value for my opponent, and this is really an illustration of how Skaven deal with heavy cavalry. You throw in absolute trash infantry, Skaven Slaves, Clan Rat Spears, stacked with Rat Ogres, and you can see that my Knights of the Blazing Sun, a very expensive unit, as well as my Free Company Militia, are being overwhelmed by that very, very nice combo. On the far side of the battlefield, we do have some pretty good concave fire, and this is the juicy stuff here. These two archers shooting into the ogres, while there's some flagellants holding them in place. That is really, really efficient for sure. But Volkmar, I think he's having a Haggard chariot battle. I'm not quite sure. It looks like he was ramming this Grey Seer. It's like you have the wooden spokes of this Grey Seer versus Death Hoof and his friend there, and they're doing their best, man. In the meantime, Warplock Jezzail's continuing to hammer into Volkmar the Grim, the Hammer of Sigmar, with the Grand Hammer of Sigmar, buffing up these nearby troops, I think. Maybe a little bit out of range, not quite getting those Sigmar Sons, which is unfortunate. As far as this fighting goes, like I said, the double archers shooting into the Rat Ogre is a pretty cost-effective situation. And in the back here, this Manticore doing the work of the gods. Manticore summons are quite good, able to shut down a Jezail and, almost cause disruption on the second unit before breaking. But as far as the balance of power goes, it's a little bit in my opponent's favor here. J Phoenix doing a very, very good job, and I am kind of falling behind as these Skaven are able to kind of bunker bust my front line. Volkmar the Grim is surprisingly low, but that's kind of the main reason why the balance of power is Grim, is because Volkmar is low, and he's Grim and low. Yes, I get it. But he'll be able to come back most likely. So the Spearmen rushing up the hill, trying to intercept these Rat Ogres here, should be able to get some good engagements. Obviously, normally you'd want to brace, but considering the Rat Ogres are kind of moving away from me and trying to get on other threats here, the Spearmen are going to hold them in place while the Knights of the Blazing Sun charge in with their shock damage. And those Lances, partially couched. It looks like they're more just thrusting with their arm strength, which is pretty crazy for sure. But yeah, nonetheless, the Ogres are taking quite a big beating. Balance of power still a little bit Skaven favored, but we do indeed have the Feral Manticore here, and the Manticore should be able to charge in, go after the Warplock Jezails, get some really good value in there, and do their thing. And I think we have, 7 Flagellants still fighting up here? Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Now, this is something that's pretty cool about the Free Company Militia too. They're dual purpose, right? I don't think going super heavy is a great idea, but mixing in a couple has been pretty good, right? They can chase and pressure things, and believe it or not, Skaven Jezails are actually pretty quick. They have 37 movement speed, and when they're broken, I think it goes up to 42 because of the Skaven trait. So, like, having something to chase them and shoot them is really, really actually quite nice. And also the dual purpose against Molder monsters from the Free Company Militia, I think is really something that bears some weight there. Now, balance of power is starting to shift a little bit. Here you can see that the cheapo archer is doing a really good job, just slowly picking off these Council Guard models. Nice little scorch effect coming in from the Skaven. Beautiful run right there, going right through the Spearmen. Should do some substantial HP damage. Yeah, they're 74. That's quite a little bit of a tickling going on there. And Volkmar the Grim is healing, right? So that's something else that's kind of a constant factor going in my direction, is that Volkmar will be healing, and any damage I do to the Grey Seer is going to be permanent. Now, you also have to note, though, I have used my second Manticore summon, so the Manticore summon is out on the table. It's going to be going after the Poison Wing Globes, and the balance of power will revert to a relatively more even state once that bad boy is gone. But that's kind of the whole idea with summons. You want to try and grab an advantage while they're active and, hold that advantage from the power level that they do deliver here. But our archers are functional for the most part. Skaven have some clan rats and things like that. Council Guard are down to a handful of models, and really the Skaven don't have a whole lot in the battlefield. I have to admit, at this point in the battle, I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't more in my favor. But again, there still is a Grey Seer is pretty healthy, and I believe there's still, some Clan Rat Spears back here causing some disruption. But this is a big part of it too. You can see there's a mass exodus of rats back here. We have the Warlock, the Warlock Jezails. The Warplock Jezails, I think 2 of them, 9 plus 17, that's a pretty substantial amount. Combined, that's more than a full unit of Jezails. So for example, if I wasn't able to chase all these off, including the Warp Grinders, they could come back, and with the space that they would have generated by retreating, it could have been an absolute disaster, and I could have been the one getting, kind of canned here pretty good. So the Warlock Jezails, or Warplock Jezails, trying to get them. I always get that wrong. For some reason, I always call them Warlock Jezails. It's so similar. But Davy Crockett's here. He's got his horns, he's got his moose business going on. Going to be trying to ride through these summoned clan rats who had enough with this cruel, cold world, and now the Ember Wizard is going to be moving on to the Warplock Jezails, but they are guarded by a Grey Seer. The Grey Seer, of course, not great in combat. 35 melee attack isn't terrible, enough to connect with 13 melee defense for sure, and that's the thing about Ember Wizards compared to other casters. Their stats are very lopsided. They actually, this one has, 50 freaking melee attack and 13 melee defense, which is pretty funny, but yeah, they actually pack a punch, 300 weapon strength as well. So at this point, kind of regrouping for myself and my opponent here, J Phoenix, getting some nice shots downtown with the Warlock Jezails, and it looks like there is going to be some sort of a Scorch effect going down. Pretty good one, and I have to say, these Scorches have been really, really on point this entire battle. But the Sons of Sigmar have formed ranks up on the high ground, and the Knights of the Blazing Sun do charge in, get a little bit of shock damage, but they've already broken like 3 or 4 times this game. But here's the Fanatics of both the Skaven as well as the Empire. Well, I guess they're both technically Empires, right? It's like the Skaven Under Empire and just the basic Empire. You guys get the picture, but yeah, this is literally the last of my Unbreakable troops fighting the Skaven Unbreakable troops, which is pretty epic. But it looks like the Skaven do get the edge there. They can claim that small victory, as now they're going to be focused down pretty bad by the archers, and just sending in chaff to finish off 10 Storm Vermin should do the trick here. Now, Davy Crockett gets a little bit ambitious. I did charge in there, and this was a pretty big mistake. I charged in thinking I could maybe get some poke here and get away, but the Grey Seer did have some summons nearby, some clan rats, some different things like that, and was able to summon on top of me, therefore trapping Davy Crockett, and I end up paying the ultimate price. Now, Council Guard, this is vengeance for those brave flagellants. You can see all the state troopers, some powerful mustaches going on, and yeah, they're able to cut those guys down, and things are looking pretty good in this particular engagement. Now we're preparing to look back down the hill at the inevitable foe, the inexorable Grey Seer of Plague, looking to spread some of that good Nurgle love, preparing for Game 3, I would suppose. Look at these archers, man, doing the work. These guys are down to about 10 leadership and should be able to focus them down. Yeah, basic archer is honestly really cheap. And in this matchup, I feel like in many situations, I'm trying to think of a matchup in which I would be like, okay, I want crossbowmen instead of archers, right? Maybe in matchups in which you're trying to deal with like skirmishing elements. So, kind of those skirmish cavalry that have like 140 range or 125 for the greenskins that your basic archers wouldn't be able to kind of get efficient range trades with. Maybe in those situations, you might want to consider crossbowmen, but generally, I feel like the basic archers have kind of taken their role in many ways. Although I guess, yeah, I don't know, something to kind of theorycraft a little bit. A little bit of a problem here. We do get some wolf rats hunting down my archers, but I think the 61 archers should be able to kind of fend off the 20 wolf rats or so. Wolf rats do have very, very bad base leadership. You can see just fighting a couple bare bones archers in their beleaguered and exhausted state. Oh, they're actually fresh. Where have they been this whole battle? Man, how are they fresh? What's going on? Those wolf rats have been eating their Wheaties for sure. Now, Volkmar the Grim moving in, going after the Grey Seer. 3,200 HP on this bad boy. Volkmar's at about 45. Is it going to be the dreaded chariot duel? Now, I think if they had to ram each other into oblivion, Death Hoof versus the wooden wheels of this Grey Seer, I think eventually Volkmar would win for sure. He's got the regeneration. He does have the buffs as well. And, overall, he's unbreakable and the Grey Seer is not. So I think I'd be okay in that situation. But now the bounce power is truly coming into the favor of the Sons of Sigmar here as the Amber Wizard, buffed up by the Hammer of Sigmar, actually is going to be packing some punch. Rocking, 74 melee attack. That's no joke. It is going to be GG. Well played. That was from a best of 3. You guys will be seeing the rest of the games from that series over the course of the next couple days, hopefully, as long as I can keep casting from this dreaded hotel room. So, yeah, it's... today is... What day is today? Today is Sunday, I think? Yeah, Sunday, the 14th. And, yeah, it's been a crazy time, guys, man. We're going to be able to move back into our old place on Tuesday or Wednesday. So then we'll be good to go for streaming again. I can't stream from the hotel room. It has like potato upload speed, but I'll be streaming again as soon as I can on Wednesday or Thursday. And, once I'm able to get set up again and have my whole rig and, be going, we'll be trying to stream 4 or 5 days a week, get kind of back in the rhythm of things. Because, man, oh man, it's been a depressing time for sure. So Volkmar, 2,700, 45. Yeah, obviously the Mancores are what really get the bread. But what's curious is to see the archers. So 523, 424. I mean, yeah, archers are like dirt cheap, right? They more or less paid for themselves and were functional and used almost all of their ammunition. Knights of the Blazing Sun, 654, 666, the sign of the beast there. And, yeah, Free Company didn't do quite as well, but they were all obviously in melee too. But, yeah, I think they kind of, did their thing. Now, for the Skaven army, big breadwinners are probably going to be the Globes. Almost always the case. They almost always pay for themselves like twice over. 1,200, 900, the Jezzails, 800, 600. So, yeah, pretty standard spread value across both armies. But well played, DJ Phoenix. I like the build, honestly. I think triple Jezzail is one of the more... I don't know. Yeah, it's something that, obviously I practice a lot with Hadries, and it's something that he does quite a bit, is bringing multiple Jezzails. If it's on a bigger map like this, I think that's very strong. Very good against the cavalry. You can range their missile pieces. You can advance on an artillery positions if you have to. And, it's not bad at sniping characters and Volkmar and Franz. And, yeah, Jezzails are just a really, really good unit. I still am more of a fan of a mortar. Maybe even a single mortar as opposed to 2 globes, but obviously they did a shit ton of damage. So, I mean, there's nothing to really critique here. It's a good build. Just came down to a couple engagements. And yeah, for this one, it works pretty well. Free Company Militia are something I kind of experiment with. I have some games where they get massive value. But, for example, had there been more of a Molder specific build where there was like Packmasters and Ogres running around, having that extra low AP firepower for a very cheap price point, I think could have been good. So well played, DJ Phoenix. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. And, yeah, we'll keep rolling. We'll be back streaming as soon as possible. Again, and my sincere apologies. I know there's so many events in limbo. I want to be casting the World Cup and all this, or the World Championship, as well as the Legendary Lords Tournament and Faction Wars. There's so much stuff we need to kind of get back doing once again. But thanks again for sticking around, guys. I really appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Cheers.